Alright everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault, and we're talking about who else? Dragon Age Veilguard once again. This is an article from Inverse, written by Robin Bear. Yeah, let's cue the music and we'll talk about it. Alright, so the title of this is The Veilguard Makes Me Feel Seen as a Trans Player, but Blockbuster Games Can Do Better. This is Robin Bear right up here. Oh, where are we? There we go. Look at Robin Bear. Yes. Robin is a game writer focused on the intersections of queer culture, TTRPGs, and indie games. He lives in Pittsburgh, where he can be found cat-proofing his apartment, making coffee, and telling himself he's just about to learn to sew one of these days. Robin produces and co-hosts Girl Mode, a gaming and media criticism podcast, all with Kotaku writer Willa Rowe. Well, there's a shocker. Man, Kotaku's going through some crap right now, aren't they? They're getting a whole bunch of them got canned. Anyway, let's get back to this article. No disrespect using your proper pronouns, Robin, but you're definitely not female. Anyway, there's a tweet that makes rounds every so often that says, "Getting queer-baited by Marvel is like losing at chess to a dog." It's a reference to the MCU's history of only hinting at queer characters and the idea that we should know better than to expect more by now. It also describes my feeling towards expecting trans representation in blockbuster games. Dragon Age: The Veilguard's approach to trans characters feels like a step forward, but the mere fact that it does highlights just how low the bar is. I mean, I don't know what you guys want. I honestly don't. You know, this is the whole give them an inch, they take a mile thing that you heard. You know, your dad probably told you this when you were young. You know, I give you an inch, you take a mile, or don't give in, you know, whatever. This is exactly why you don't give in. This is why we should have gate-kept gaming in the first place and kept the women out and kept all these freaks out and just kept it for us dudes. This was our thing, okay? This was our safe space. And we let it get invaded by all these interlopers, all these tourists, and they came in and they crapped on it and they made it garbage. They made it awful. You know, it's time to get them out of here, man. Or, you know, create some really nice studios that are just dude-only studios. Make some dude games, you know? Boobs, explosions, cusses, fast cars, cool weapons, big dudes kicking ass, fun stuff like that. Not all this trans garbage and representation and I feel seen. When I play a game, I don't want to feel seen. I want to have fun. You know, I don't understand this stupidity. I honestly don't. I want to talk to... I got a buddy that's studying his... he's going for his doctorate in psychiatry. I'm going to talk to him about this kind of stuff. See if he knows anything about what's going on with these lunatics, because I'm really curious as far as why they put so much into this. Are their own lives that pathetic that they have to live vicariously through these little pixels on the screen? I mean, is that what it is? You know, it's really annoying. If you saw yesterday's video, you saw how the game kind of tricks you into becoming trans if you're not watching what you're doing. You know, it's really, really goofy, and this is the most cringe dialogue I've ever seen. You know, you combine that with the whole trans crap that they keep putting out there, the non-binary discussions of this and that. No, Mom, I'm non-binary. Oh, I'm going to go pull a barf. Oh, this and that. I finally see myself in the mirror, the man that I'm supposed to be. Nobody wants that in games, especially fantasy, you know, RPGs, like based off of a Dungeons and Dragons type thing. We want to go out there, we want to kick some ass. We don't want to sit there and come out of the closet. You know, go do that in your own time in your real life, you freaking weirdos. My God, it's so gross. Anyway, the Veilguard's options for playing the protagonist Rook as a trans character begin at the creation screen. There are no male and female body types, and that's where it starts. Type body A or body B or body 1 and body 2. We got to bring back male and female body types and character creators. Regardless of your character's appearance, you choose their gender identity and pronouns separately, though I haven't seen anywhere in the game where your choice of gender identity actually comes into play. Otherwise, the only nod to trans identity is the ability to add top surgery scars to your character, which is so stupid. How often are you running around with no shirt on in the game, dude, right? You know, oh, I know they're there. I just feel seen, you know. And can you cut your wiener off and give yourself one of those gaping wounded vagina things that, you need to service on a daily basis, otherwise it closes up on you and gets rotten? I mean, why don't you add that to the game for a little more role playing if you're going to go this far, man? It's so stupid. All I can really say about it is it's fine. These are, frankly, all options that should be standard in character creators by this point. No, they shouldn't. These should be gone from character creators. I want them out. I want it out of gaming completely, 100% out of gaming. And as we're seeing these games fail, one after another, the tide is turning in this country and in the world. People are pushing back against this garbage. It's disgusting. And I'm hoping it's gone. Give it a year or two. I'm sure there's a lot of garbage in the pipeline. It's like crap in your colon. It needs to get purged. After that, it's going to be nice and clean. Going to have a nice enema in this industry. Get rid of all these tourists, all these activists that are posing as developers. And we're going to bring in some new blood. Get some people in there that just want to make some good games. And we're going to start putting out some good stuff again in the West. Right? Right? God, I hope so. I'd rather see them included than not, but it doesn't do anything to make me feel more seen as a trans person. The Veilguard slowly reveals its actually interesting take on trans characters shortly after the game begins in earnest. In an early scene, Rook unpacks their belongings, including a mirror given to them by returning character Varric. Upon pulling out the mirror, you choose from a menu of options with some choices that establish Rook as trans. The inclusion of these options set the Veilguard apart from other games, though I'd again argue that being able to make a canonically trans character should be the bare minimum for a role-playing game. No. What the Veilguard gets right isn't just that this scene exists, but that it makes room for different trans experiences. Ooh. You can choose dialogue options that highlight different feelings your Rook can have about their transition, from the struggle of your image in the mirror not matching your idea of yourself, to the joy of knowing you fought to find your real self. As if Taash isn't bad enough. Taash is a trash character. I mean, any time I see that character talking, first off, the voice acting is monotone, absolute crap. I don't know who that voice actor or actress is, but they should never work in this industry again. They have zero talent, absolute junk. And then the expression, whoever animated Taash, there's no expression on the face. This person's walking around with this thing, whatever you want to call it, the quarry or whatever they are, walking around like a bump on a log. I am non-binary. Oh, I like the cookies better. Just absolutely terrible. And then the character design itself is just awful. Everything about that character reeks. It's a steaming pile of garbage. Somebody came at me in the comments, it was a couple days ago, about, oh, this is a great game and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, you just look like an idiot defending this game. It's garbage. Just shut up. It really is garbage. If you want to defend the game, go for it. You look like a freaking moron because the game's trash. Anyway, it took a while for me to figure out why the face staring back at me felt wrong, my Rook said when I chose the last option. But once I was able to be honest with myself, it was a relief to figure out I was trans, and it's worth a look in the mirror today to see the woman I am staring back. So my buddy that dropped by, and I made a video on his video when he declared his transhood or whatever. He was a male character declaring his transhood, and then he talked about being the man he is today. But if he was trans, he wouldn't be calling himself a man, right? He'd be calling himself a woman. So there's an error right there in the way they put together. Their logic is so flawed with all this crap and all these gender identities and all that. Even these idiots can't make sense of it. I saw one part where Taash is talking about being non-binary because they don't like men and they don't like women, and I'm like, that's not what non-binary is. Don't you idiots know your own mental disorders here? Non-binary means you aren't male or you aren't female. You don't feel like you're male or female. I can't say that you aren't one or the other because you are. It's just but no, they can't even keep track of it. Anyway, without exaggerating, it's the most I've ever felt my own experiences of transition reflected back at me in a blockbuster game. It even helps to know that other versions of that scene exist, which keeps the Veilguard from implying that every trans person experiences gender the same way. There are other moments where you're able to reference your trans identity, though few feel as impactful as this initial choice. Where they do become important is in dealing with Taash, the game's only other out trans party member. Each character has a series of personal quests in Taash's center on their discovering and understanding of their own non-binary identity. And there's Trash right there. It looks like a dude, built like a dude and all that. Girl's voice, absolutely awful. And, it's not like it's just one or two scenes either. I've probably seen a half dozen scenes addressing this crap. And that's a half dozen too many. It's absolutely a half dozen too many. If you want to design a goofy ass character and put a wiener on a girl or whatever in a character creator screen and be some kind of lunatic like that, so be it. Whatever, dude. That's on you. But to put all this shit in a game, it's terrible. It shouldn't be in there, right? Kids play video games. Kids will play their older brother or sister's video games. What's going to happen if your little 10-year-old brother decides to try out Veilguard and he comes across this crap? What's he going to do? Mom, am I non-binary? I would lose my shit if my 10-year-old came at me with that kind of stuff. I would lose it. Anyway, the scene where Taash realizes they're non-binary is another high point of the Veilguard's trans representation. Taash's epiphany comes seemingly out of nowhere. So here's another logic flaw, and this is what makes me crazy about all this. If you're trans, that means you have gone from male to female or female to male, correct? From one side to the other. If you're non-binary, that means you're neither, so how can you be both? You can't be both. If you're non-binary, you're neither. So what have you transitioned into? Explain this to me, man. Explain it to me like I'm 5. No, don't, because you guys like to do that kind of stuff, and I see it on TikTok all the time with teachers and all that, and it's really creepy. They're talking with another party member about how their mom used to try to make them wear dresses. Taash, who was assigned female at birth, means she was born with a vagina, recalls liking the way it felt when their mom said they didn't act like a woman. A less confident game could have played up the drama of the scene and turned it into an emotional, teary affair. Instead, it takes an approach that fits Taash's brash, unflappable character and mirrors the way that for many trans people, the biggest revelations about your identity can come from innocuous conversations with friends. Or maybe the actress or whatever just didn't have the cojones to actually play something with any emotion because they're garbage. Taash even tries to divert the conversation, saying, "This is stupid, forget I said anything," gesturing at one of the many ways newly out trans people can turn away from scary truths about ourselves. If you choose to empathize with Taash, Rook's response is excellent here too. They played this scene like 5 times. It's like scum saved and went back. Rook recalls thinking that everyone must feel conflicted about their gender the way they did, and emphasizes how choosing to embrace their trans identity was about choosing their own happiness. The scene also provides multiple options to describe their transition, reflecting the way that some of us struggle with coming out more than others do. The fact that conversations with Taash are where most of your options to talk about gender arise feels both real and unintentionally funny. Most trans players can probably relate to how conversations about gender with the only other trans person in the room feel meaningful, while cisgender characters all but ignore Rook mentioning their gender identity, but that reality also underscores the cracks in the Veilguard's trans representation. Well, here's the thing, man. We don't want to talk about that shit because, first off, it's weird, Normal people don't like it. It goes against everything that's natural, and, it's kind of gross. So, yeah, we don't want to talk about it. So, you want to talk about it with somebody else who has a mental illness? That's fine, You want to trade recipes between two people that have anorexia? Great, let them trade recipes. I don't want to talk to them about eating, just that's the way it is, man. Taash's story is all about their gender and coming out to their mother. This is supposed to be high fantasy, man. This is not an after-school special on trans kids. It's so gay. The coming out story is the most common story we have about trans people, probably because it's inherently dramatic, which makes it easy for a cisgender audience to understand and empathize with. Zero empathy here. There's nothing wrong with how the Veilguard tells the story, but the fact that it chooses such low-hanging fruit does say something about its ambitions for its trans characters. Keeping most of Rook's options for discussing gender identity in the confines of Taash's story also feel like the game corralling its gender feelings into one corner rather than having them feed into every aspect of Rook's story, as they would have in a more authentic trans portrayal. Then this game would have sold no copy. It would have sold like 100 copies if you guys had done that. Okay? So, think about what you're saying here, you freaking moron. Where the Veilguard's trans representation does succeed is in its smart writing. Writing's terrible. Rook doesn't always feel like a fully actualized trans character, but when the game wants to talk about them being trans, it does a good job of it. We should continue calling on major video game studios to do better by trans players and look at the Veilguard's approach. At least we're willing to accept rather than the most we can hope for. But in the meantime, you're better off heading off to the indie studio, itch.io, to play weird little games by and for trans people that's spending your time trying to beat a dog at chess. And there, at the end, that's what you should be doing. Go play your little weird, trendy indie games. That's fine, man. If people want to make games for a niche audience that is a very small audience, then indie studios should be making it for that audience. Studios with just a handful of people make these games, and whether they're coming out simulators, whatever, man. Don't take an existing IP that sold 12 million copies on the last iteration of this game 10 years ago. 12 million copies 10 years ago. This game was highly anticipated for 10 years. There's a lot of Dragon Age fans out there. A lot of people that love this franchise. They love this IP. And I know it's had gay crap in it before and all that, but now it's just insufferably stupid. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. These guys should be ashamed of themselves. It's going to cost them jobs. It's going to cost them a lot of jobs. They're already not doing any DLC for it. They dropped that turd and they said, woo, boy, nobody likes this game. Let's move on to Mass Effect 5. And BioWare's going to crap up Mass Effect 5, destroy that too, and then they're going to get shut down. EA's just going to cut them off. Maybe keep some of the more talented individuals and absorb them into some of their other studios. But all these trash activist idiots that put their little, coming out stories into games and ruined everything with their activism, they're all going to be hitting the road, and good riddance to them, man. It's time for a great purge in gaming, man. Get all these activists out, get all these tourists out. Let me know what you think about this, man. You see how it is? You give them a game like this, you ruin a good IP. I mean, you literally ruin a good IP. Let's look at what they're doing right now. Yeah, here we go. Let's see where they are right now. 43,000 people. They peaked 5 days ago when the first weekend it came out. I think it was the Sunday it came out. 89,000 people. Here we are a week later. I mean, granted, it's 10 o'clock at night on a Friday, but still, it's decent gaming time, right? That's Eastern time. So it's only like 7 o'clock on the West Coast, but 43,000 people playing. And it's, it might get up to 60 over the weekend, I'm guessing. But it's just steadily dropping. I heard about a third of the pre-orders were canceled and refunded, and it's just, it's gone, man. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and if you want to bitch about my take on this, then go ahead and bitch in the comments. I'll rip you a new one. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, peace.